Hello, genealogists. This is Craig, and this is Just Genealogy, and we continue on our travels through Genealogy Standards, where today we're going to deal with standard number 14, topical breadth. Remember that I do not represent the Board for Certification of Genealogists, and what we're dealing with here is my opinion, and my opinion might be worth a grain of salt, and that's up to you to decide. So, topical breadth, number 14. Genealogists plan to consult sources naming or affecting their research subjects and their relatives, neighbors, and associates. Their plans often include artifacts, authored narratives, oral histories, various kinds of records, and other sources concerning agriculture, demographics, DNA, economics, ethnicities, geography, government history, inheritance, land, laws, migration, military activity, occupation, social customs, and norms, religions, and other aspects of the research question under investigation. See glossary for definitions of authored narrative, record as a noun, and source. Just a reminder that the glossary in the back of the book defines those terms. So this basically, we've dealt with broad context, we've dealt with source-based content recently, and now we're going to deal with, okay, now we have to look at the world. And probably the most important part of this standard is it introduces the concept of the fan principle without saying so, that we have to research not only our subjects, but their relatives, neighbors, and associates, the fan principle. Some people say friends, associates, and neighbors. I say family, friends, associates, and neighbors. But the best way to describe the fan principle is everybody's a potential relative. The joy of these people is that they lived in or around or with the subject of our research question. So they knew them much better than you do. And they might be able to provide you with answers concerning them. In other words, being able to determine that a brother has a father of this name, and being able to prove that you're the brother of this person might very well help you to prove that that man is in fact that man's father, or something like that. Of course, it could be a stepfather too, but that's a different story. So basically what we're doing with this concept of topical breadth is that we're taking the pieces of the broad context and expanding on them and adding a few more things. And the thing that we appear to be adding the most of is other people rather than, quote, government or economies or economics or whatever. And again, DNA is mentioned. Here we also have the concept of artifacts. I always like to know who owned the artifact. But recognize that if you haven't expanded your research into the fan, if you haven't expanded your research into the concept of knowing who all the siblings are. When somebody comes to me and they say to me, John, I'm trying to determine if his father is William. And the first question I ask, having looked at it a little bit, is, okay, well, who are John's siblings? Well, I don't know who John's siblings are. And the issue for me then becomes, well, why not? Because those are the people that are going to tell you if William is John's father, or at least help you in determining that answer. It's not often that you find someone that only has one kid. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't happen. That happened in my great-grandfather. On my mother's side is a single child, but his parents got married late, and that woman had other children from a previous marriage. She was a widow. So we always want to look for that expanded family, whether it be family, whether it be friends, whether it be neighbors or associates. They're all part of an extended neighborhood that are all going to help you with your research. So I think the most important part of topical breadth is that, yes, you deal with all those things, such as what kind of farmer were they? Were they short people or tall people? Were they where they live? Who were their neighbors? Did they own the land or did somebody else own the land? Were they tenant farmers or were they landowners? And of course, if they were landowners, you want to find out how they got the land and how they disposed of the land and all those kind of things. They're all part of topical breadth. So don't forget the fan principle. Don't forget to look at other people and always identify all the siblings that you can. And yes, some people have 13 siblings and you have to identify all of them. The most number of siblings that I've ever encountered in the Scott 1 name study was 37, 3 wives, 37 children. So actually that would make 36 siblings, but 37 children. Well, recognize that using the various numbering systems like Henry modified, those kind of things, it's very difficult to account for number 36 and 37. In those days, 30 years ago when I found this, or maybe 40, I had to break out the ASCII table. If you remember what an ASCII table is, you're old. And recognize that the left square bracket and the right square bracket were the right codes to be able to sort numerically people in the modified Henry system. Just a little point that means absolutely nothing in the 21st century. So this is Craig. This has been Just Genealogy. We've been dealing with Genealogy Standards, 2nd edition revised. As I've said before many times, if you don't own a copy of this book, you should. And I will see you soon.